Welcome to session 3 of Fact Stores. If you haven't watched session 1 and 2, it's a good idea because I go over the fundamental concepts of the old versus the new fact tables, etc. In this session number 3, I'm going to be going over the load logic. So if you look at InfoStore, when we're setting up a fact store, you'll notice down at the bottom here, and this is on the General tab, you'll notice down at the bottom here, when I pick either set-based or row by row, there are different load options which appear. You can check these boxes to enable these load options for this fact store. But what do these load options mean? So I'm going to be working through each one of these load options, just explaining the basic principles. So let's firstly start with row by row, looking at the standard and archive, etc. So on row by row we have the standard, the archive, the strong merge and the weak merge. The standard load deletes existing records when we do a reload. The archive load archives existing records by setting the current flag equal to 0. The strong merge allows you to do an update on existing records. The weak merge also allows you to do an update on existing records, but only if the values are null. So let's look at some examples of that. So looking at the strong merge on your row by row fact store, if I were to load up an instrument record with a price and an exposure value in my load 1, and then for the same instrument in load 2, I load up a price with no exposure value. This is the result that I get inside the data warehouse. So because this was a strong merge, the second load overwrote the first load. It's important to note that nulls do not overwrite. So the net result was I had a value for price from the second load, and I have a value for exposure from the first load. And remember, this is applying the same logic in terms of reloads. It's matching records row by row using the logical key. Situation's a little bit different when we move over to a weak merge. So in a weak merge, my first load I have a price, my second load I have a price and an exposure, but because it's a weak merge, the second load only overwrites the first load if the values are null. So that price of 175 will not overwrite the 280. The exposure will overwrite that because it's null. So the net result is the 280 from load 1 and the 230 from load 2. Just going back again to all my different load options. On the set-based load, the standard and archive I think are pretty obvious, following the set-based rules, but we also have append loads. So append loads are actually adding records to an existing set of data. So here's an example. If I have records from data source A and records from data source B, if I load those up as two separate loads and they're marked as append loads, inside the data warehouse I will have records from A and records from B, and that's a union essentially. If I do a reload of data source A, it uses the data source as part of the logical key. So it's only going to look at records which match the data source and the logical key to figure out what to delete and what to reload. So you can think of this as a set that's been broken up into subsets. And that allows you to merge up and union records from different sources into the same target set. Just going back again to InfoStore. If we don't check these options over here, when it comes to writing the info flow, you will not have these options available to you. But I think in most cases you'll probably check them all.